Well, we're all back once in the cave. I see all the hate already streaming into the stream, which is good. It gives me the energy. The hate and the love, it must be balanced, and we are once again here. Bitcoin still above 122,000 US dollars. Absolutely insane. We did get the pullback that we were looking for yesterday. However, is there more? Is there more on this pullback? Well, I do suspect that we'll find out regarding that. I think we're going to find out if that's going to actually happen before the end of this week. Overall, though, higher term time frame still remain in an overall upwards posturing, and general bullish bias kind of remains here as long as Bitcoin is more or less above about 118. Short-term pullbacks can be short-term pullbacks, but 118 is that big bias buster, at least that we're going to be focusing in on this channel. As long as Bitcoin's above there, it's all higher lows. Below there, then I get my personal wish, which is a much more prolonged sideways consolidation, which I do believe would imply that we're going to see a much more prolonged market cycle as well. Anyways, let me just focus this camera in. Let's get my damn rat face in focus. There we go. Beautiful. Well, maybe not so much, but plenty to talk about today, particularly with the higher, or sorry, not the higher term time frames, but the lower term time frames. So we'll focus things on that. Other than that, I can see we got Steven Schickman in the house. What's up, my good man? Sanaz, good morning to you. With Biff the Bear, John Bruder, Lamo Chila, Azul, Mr. Azul. I just got to call you Mr. Azul from New Jersey. Fuck yeah, man. We got Portugal in the house, BCBD, JL Willis, good morning to you, man. Marcus Dabney, can you discuss XRP in all capitals? Can you discuss XRP? No, we cannot, actually. We are not that redacted. We're very redacted here, absolutely, yes, but there are levels to redactation, and if Bitcoins is right here, then XRP is like, it's way up here. It's way up here. But the good news is for the XRP army is that there is even higher levels of redactation. Yes, indeed. There's much higher levels, much higher levels. In fact, I'm sure we're going to see several of these levels explored today. Anyways, I do want to check out some traditional marks, kind of open this one up as always. What are you what's upping about? There's some bug? There's some bug. There's some bug outside. Yeah, it's called nature. Anyways, so let's go check out some traditional markets here to see what they're kind of opening up with. We got, another 28 minutes to go until U.S. markets do open. So let's see what the futures are looking like for SPY and for NASDAQ here, the big major Borises. And yes, SPY continues to just trudge its way upwards and onwards. Yes, indeed, yesterday was a bit of a pullback, but I want to really focus on, on a fact right here. Whenever you see these pullbacks that fail to break even the most lowest period of moving average that I have on my screen here, which is that red 5 EMA on a daily time frame, it's just not concerning at all. And even if even if SPY were to break below that, yeah, I think that we'd get a decent correction here, probably somewhere back down to about 6,700. In the grand scheme of things, is that a humongous correction? Not really, honestly, not really. Maybe that would have the power to bring Bitcoin somewhere down around 118 or so, but ultimately that would still be a higher low on the higher term time frames. That is my main point here. And we've already got a new optimized for SPY, which we said was likely on Monday's stream. And I think NASDAQ's going to be the same thing here as well. Indeed it is. We've got new optimized here as well. And same shit, this thing continues to close above that red 5 EMA, even on what was considered a big dump day, a big dump day yesterday. And shit, man, even if I go over to Bitcoin on CME, not on spot, but on CME, which I do believe has the more higher fidelity of these charts, we can see yesterday's dump brings Bitcoin where? Brings Bitcoin exactly to that red 5 EMA. And as of right now, Bitcoin not closing below. In fact, today, even still using that same region to bounce off of, doesn't mean that Bitcoin's destined to live above there for forever, obviously, but it gives us a sort of bias is what I'm saying. So as long as Bitcoin's above there, I'm not looking for like a greater pullback. Like I said, if Bitcoin does break this number, I think 118 is the next logical stopping point. And that's really sort of my last line in the sand for the Bullahs if they do want to take things upwards and onwards from here, meaning that if we are going to see a parabolic move, extrapolate from this more or less same region, I really wouldn't be expecting Bitcoin to operate below 118, especially on a daily closing base. Below 118 on a daily closing basis, that's where, like I said, I get my personal wish, where I think that we see this thing consolidate for a much longer time, and the market cycle continues to go probably deep into 2026. Okay, maybe not deep into 2026, but decently into 2026. But assuming that Bitcoin does not violate that number, I'm kind of just expecting the same old 4-year cycle, and that does mean fun times are very likely ahead. But that also means that disastrous times will naturally follow that. Anyways, go check out some of the other major stonks that I got going on my list here. Obviously, we're just gonna be looking at pre-market stuff. But what about Coinbase? What's Coinbase doing right now? Coinbase did have a little bit of a short-term reversal yesterday. Did hit just over 390. And yeah, overall this is good. It can come all the way down to like 340 or 350 and put in a higher low here. That's not really an issue as far as I care. In the greater scheme of things, in the greater trend. In fact, looking at this, I mean, it's really starting to solidify that $300 low as a major low. Even if Bitcoin were to come back down around there, I'd just be looking for that area to reconsolidate, similar to Bitcoin coming back down to like the 108 or 109 lows that we saw from September. That is now going to become a major base for me. So if Bitcoin were to get back down around there, I would look at that as like a long-term value area, most likely. I mean, long-term value area, of course. If we were to fast forward into a potential, crypto dumpola, then yeah, it's not going to look too great. But if we fast forward at about 5-6 years out from there, yeah, I think that would be a pretty damn good value area, just more long-term. Maybe not the best, but perhaps, at least in my opinion, putting a little bit of money to work in that region. And let's see what's up with some of the other ones. Triple Qs, what are they opening up at? They're opening up at 605.30. Let's go down here to the daily to get a little bit more granular on this one. Yeah, again, it does look, I mean, to be honest, it does look like things do want to pull back a little bit more. Not going to lie about that. If I'm just giving you my straight up opinion on it, but again, I need to see things actually structurally broken before I look for that next sort of plunge to the downside. And even then, I mean, is Bitcoin crashing to 118? I feel like I need to be a little bit more reasonable. It's such an insane sentence to say. Anyways, we are, by the way, multi-streaming on both Twitter and YouTube right now. It looks like my streaming software can once again do it. So hopefully there's not gonna be any hiccups during this. If there are, definitely let me know. And what we'll do is we'll just continue to go purely on YouTube. But for right now, it looks like Twitter's not causing any issues. And so we are good to go. We're good to go, baby. We're good to go. We can all be a little bit of gay for TA together, as Arif says. That's right. I'm not just a little bit gay for TA. I'm extremely gay for TA. I'm thinking about transitioning to a trans for TA. I'm fucking trans analysis right now. So much love. What's up, man? Lost 15K gambling on a coin flip game. Coin flip game? Wait, what? Holy shit, man. What the hell are you doing over there, Cap.B? Just gambling straight up on a fucking flip game. Fair enough, man. Many fallen soldiers have done similar, and I see Caretaker over here as well, man. Good to fucking see you. Good to fucking see you. Let's actually go look at Caretakers. In my opinion, I mean, at this point, it's among my most prized indicators here. Of course, the HPAS, or sorry, not the HPAS, but the HPDR is still my most prized indicator that he has created. But the HPAS is a very quick second. And to be honest, the HPAS, I do think for short-term scalpers has an insane value just because it has been getting these scalps so fucking well. I mean, we saw it yesterday again in the video. If you recall in yesterday's video, Bitcoin was just bouncing off the lower end of that average returns range low. It did put in about a $500 to $700 bounce from that number. And then yes, the second pass, as we always discuss, is not the same sort of probabilistic bounce region. Or what do you know? Bitcoin closed below it. So in this case, do we have a similar play today available as well? As always, we will. And in fact, to the upside, we do have a nice little range boundary at 124,600 for the average range high for Wednesdays, which, by the way, Wednesday is the second most likely day to close positively out of any weekday. And more importantly, Wednesday actually has the highest positive returns. Do I think that today is going to be one of those big returning Wednesdays? Personally, no. I think today is going to be a consolidation day, kind of a boring day, but that's just my opinion. If Bitcoin hits one of these sides, I would just be looking for the same thing as always, a bit of a pullback that approaches the top side, or if it were to fall down to the average returns range low at 119,400, I'd be looking for a bit of a bounce on that first pass. Again, super easy scalp play for the short-term time frame traders out there who are just looking for, I mean, in this case, it's like $500 moves basically off of these boundaries more or less, because Bitcoin's at such a high nominal value. So if you do have the equity to put on like actual positions, there is a shit ton of money to be made on these quick scalps. Not gonna fucking lie, and we've seen so many of these play out. It nearly happens every day. Nearly every day we at least see one of these sides tested. Not every day, but almost every day, and thus an opportunity does exist. What I've also included on my board over here as well is I've included the intra bar, which I'm actually less interested in for these daily video purposes, but the volume as well, which I think probably more other people than me are going to be a lot more interested in this. But I do want to call out that Wednesday is the highest volume day for Bitcoin, so that means that if we're going to be getting any sort of a major outsized move move, Wednesday is really the day for that. You can see that compared to other weekdays, it's got a 5% to almost 10% more overall volume compared to those days. So I do think that warrants a lot of consideration. I'm getting all kinds of fucking emails in the background here. As usual, my phone is just exploding. It's exploding. I need a break, man. I need a fucking break. It's what I really need. It's actually insane, man. Anyways, let's see. Where was I? Yeah. So looking at this, like I said, I've also included a little bit more data on this one, and I'm using the newest version of the HPAS right now as well. And by the way, anyone can try this out for free in the link description below. You'll find Teachable, and then from there, you just go to Caretaker's Indicator Suite. You get all of his indicators, all of his beautiful creations. But on top of that, I've included the maximums for these moves as well. I just think it's kind of interesting to look at. And by the way, I'm just looking at the data for the past few years since 2023 began, particular to this bull market cycle. You can define any date range that you want to create this data set, just so you know. But I prefer to look at that because I believe that the data set is particular to the market cycle. And in this case, I don't think that we're going to see any move like this, but I want to keep an eye on this going forwards because the maximum percent move that we've seen throughout that data set, I do think is going to give some context as to like how crazy things can get, especially during what I think is more than likely to be a parabolic time for crypto. So, if we start to see, either the pumps or the dumps, because, we actually do get the biggest dumps during the parabolic blow off tops for Bitcoin and cryptocurrency in general. It'll be a good guide as to like how crazy we are within any particular day's movement. If we do get outsized moves, again, it's not going to be super common that we're going to see anything like that, obviously, just by the nature of statistics, but it can give, a little bit of added emphasis to extreme moves. Like if we were to see Bitcoin, for example, today move, 9.5% to the upside, I'd be saying, hey, probably unlikely going to be closing above this number. Again, if you are a scalper, that perhaps that would initiate a little bit of a sell opportunity. Or if you were long into that move, then that would be telling you, hey, party's probably over for today. Look forwards to, the next day or whatever it may be. And of course, to the downside, same thing. I mean, the maximum move that we've seen to the downside on a Wednesday throughout this bull market cycle has been about 5.63% to the downside. So again, just put that in perspective. And also this is actually going to directly address all of the doomers and the doomers and the mooners. Yes, the doomers and the mooners. For basically the people who are like 200,000 today or 20,000 today. Well, based off statistics, neither. In fact, even seen below 116.5 today would be extremely unlikely. Or sorry, no, that is untrue. Actually, yes, that is true. 5.5% is the maximum loss we've seen for Wednesdays. So, very, very unlikely to the upside. Adding 10% to this price action puts Bitcoin, like 130. Again, I highly doubt we're going to see that today. I highly doubt Bitcoin even moves significantly to the upside today. If any direction is going to be winning today, I think it's going to be sideways, to be honest. Anyways, moving on from there, I do want to get into, of course, the old witches. This one has indeed fired off. We got the old bull moon right here. The bull moon has fired off as of yesterday night's closure, and this has traditionally been, a more or less upwards angled time for Bitcoin. The last one that we did see over here was indeed a winner. This one did lead Bitcoin up from about 111 all the way up to the 118 high for September. The one before that did actually create the prior all-time high for Bitcoin, although the actual trade itself and the way that it's set up on the Quant Prime service for the moon phases did close slightly negatively, to be fair. And then the one before that actually created the all-time high before, the July one. Or sorry, not the July one, but the August one. This one was in July, obviously. Anyways, this one firing off over here. We know while Bitcoin is more or less already at all-time highs, is that a good or bad? No, stats are fucking stats. And at the end of the day, this does not have a super high probability to produce a winning trade. What you're betting on here, if you play setups like this, is you're betting on the profit factor, because your profitable trade rate is just over 55%, which is, it's better than lower, obviously, it's better than a coin flip by a little bit. But it's that profit factor that is giving you outsized returns on those winning trades, which makes you have a nice positive equity curve up and to the right over time. Again, the average returning trade for these setups over the past 10 years has been about 13%. The average losing trade has been just under 8%. Again, that would put Bitcoin, into some pretty crazy numbers on both ends of the trajectory. And again, we get a time frame for that as well. It takes 14 days for this to play out. So we are effectively looking for, some sort of a decent move between now and, let's say, the 22nd of October. The 22nd of October. So 2 weeks from today, basically. So anyways, I'm going to take a sip of this water. We'll get into some more analysis in just a moment here. Yes, the Moonies, the monies, the monies, the monies, the monies. What else do we have? Let me get back to my notes. I've actually unfortunately put them to the wayside. Yes, okay, so 10-day time frame closed alongside the 5-day time frame last night, so we have big updates there on higher term time frames. I do want to acknowledge that the 10-day time frame, it did not, I mean, it did close on new all-time highs, but really would have liked to have seen it close above that prior spike high that we particularly saw in August. That would have been a lot more confidence inducing that we are going to see Bitcoin take off literally from this point. In this case, because it did close below, I do think that there is potential for a reconnect with that red 5 EMA on the 10-day time frame, and that is where? That is low 118s. Again, further solidifying 118 as a big sort of bias buster, at least that I'm going to be looking at on this channel. As long as Bitcoin's above there, yeah, we can see pullbacks down around there, but I'd more or less be looking for bounces around that region and Bitcoin to continue up and to the right. If Bitcoin starts to close below there, 118, that is when, like I say, I get my personal wish, or very likely get my personal wish. We get a more prolonged sideways market here, playing out this range between 120 the upside versus, you know, maybe 100 to the downside. And again, I would look at that as a good indication that we're going to see a more prolonged market cycle. But yeah, as of right now, it does favor the more parabolic resolution of the two. And we are also going to see 10-day time frame stochastic momentum very likely simultaneously turn up, assuming Bitcoin can just remain above 120, which yesterday did bounce off of, you know, decently alongside extreme lows on BBWP. So this is as of right now, this is an upside bias setup. As long as Bitcoin is above 120, especially, that is giving a short-term upside bias. And if Bitcoin can close the next 10-day time frame above that number, that is going to look really, 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 really good for continuation into the end of this month. Well, in this case, new all-time highs. Of course, the 5-day time frame closed as well. More or less the same shit over here. We do see the 5-day time frame stochastic oscillator continues to the upside as long as Bitcoin's above 117,400 is the new pivot. And we are seeing volatility start to raise off of the lows here as well. Yes, I am using a sample length 7 on these settings right here. If we go to my traditional volatility versus stochastic momentum setup, you'll see the prior settings, which is what I actually measure this one off of. So if you're looking for that setup and you're confused because we've gotten a lot of emails about this, then it actually should look like this. And this is the correct one, by the way, for that particular setup. Again, settings are always, always, always specific to a setup. Settings are specific to a setup. You cannot like just mix and match because of the same indicator name. No, that is not going to work. Everything needs to be tested very particularly to its specific settings. If you're not doing it that way, then, well, you're not testing anything because you are not even playing it out in the way that, well, whatever prior testing you did do. Anyways, in this case, the 5-day time frame, you can see that volatility is lifting off the lows, but it is not above the critical point right here, which in my experience confirms these moves. And in this case, it would need to get back above 15 percentile. 15 percentile. Right now, it is at 11.5 percentile. It is possible we could actually see if Bitcoin moved up to like 130, that it would initiate that. But for right now, no, this is still a non-event signal as it stands. So yeah, you know, just keep that in mind if you've been looking for that one to play out. I'm keeping a keen eye on it myself as well, but it is not fired off yet. It is not fired off yet. I repeat, it is not fired off yet. So yes, it's in the background. It will very likely be extremely relevant at some point. And again, this one is pivoted at 117,300, 117,400, more or less same, you know, same areas. So 117, 118, you know, I would just round up to 118 in this case. As long as Bitcoin's above there, the bias, at least for me, is to the upside. Below there, it is corrective bias. But again, I look at that as a good thing. Personally, I look at that as a good thing. Now, I do want to also acknowledge that the bearish divergence that we identified yesterday did indeed, did indeed play out to the lowest common target, which was, again, that red 5 EMA, that was 120. And we did get down to what exactly yesterday? 126.50. You know, is there another swipe to the downside? I do think it's very possible here. I mean, this is bearish divergence. 1, 2, 3 major drives on major highs as well. We're talking about the high from May of this year, May 21st. We're talking about the July 12th high as well, connected with this most recent high from Sunday, the 5th of October, or I mean, more or less Monday, depending upon your time zone. So, you know, again, just because it has bearish divergence does not mean it's a kill signal or anything like that. Again, Bitcoin could easily just pop down to that yellow 21 EMA, and guess where that is? It's exactly at 118. Guess where the 618 Fibonacci retracement is from a bearish retracement? That is at a 118 level as well. So a lot of things coalescing at that same region, which is why I don't have any issue at all if Bitcoin comes down around there for the higher term timeframes to play out, more or less a higher low. Below there, though, things do change around for me, like I said. Anyways, if we go into the short-term timeframes, I do want to also acknowledge right here, Bitcoin does seem to be kind of consolidating, or at least trying to consolidate at a high level. Yes, there is some hidden bullish evidence on that last 4-hour low. I don't think it's going to play out any more than what we already saw it in the short term. I do think it's going to be a bit more range bound on the short term between, let's call it 123,500 to the upside versus more or less 120 to the downside. So I wouldn't really be expecting too much from here. Bitcoin's more or less almost in the middle of that same range. So I don't have a humongous bias as to which side it's going to go. If anything, in the very, very short term, I do think you try another retest of yesterday's low somewhere around there right here. As you can see, maybe another reconnect with that 200 simple at basically what is exactly yesterday's low. So I think that is very much possible. But I should also acknowledge there actually is not any hidden bearish evidence on the hourly time frame. So yeah, like I'm not really looking for a continuation of new lows from here, or at least I don't have, signals that suggest that just yet. Anyways, it looks like my lawn man has sent me an estimate. Very nice indeed. I don't actually have a lawn right now. I'm living in an apartment. Anyways, let's go over and check out the HPDR. I'm looking at the 10-day time frame right here. Again, we don't really look at the 10-day time frame too often on this channel just because it doesn't, it takes 10 days to fucking close one, right? But I do think it warrants a lot of consideration that Bitcoin bounced pretty heroically off of the bottom side of that 38.2 level. And, putting into context what's going on currently, I do think we're a lot more likely to see the median tested, which is around 131. Maybe not on this period, but perhaps between this period and the next period. So in the next 10 to 20 days, basically, more or less, as long as Bitcoin is above that 38.2 level, I think you're a lot more likely to test the median here than you are to, come back down to that number. Not impossible. Again, below 118, I would change my opinion on that. But for right now, we are starting to see volatility raise a little bit off of the lows for the 10-day time frame. Not anything super crazy just yet, which actually, to be fair, would not necessarily imply a retest of the median. We'd actually want to see volatility contracting there. So that is something that I do want to keep an eye on, because that could be, if that does turn around, that actually could be problematic from the way that I look at things, but we'll see. Again, right now above 118, that's not in any way, shape, or form. 5-day time frame over here, Bitcoin has reclaimed the median as of a couple closures ago, and we can see the last one obviously opened and closed above, and now the median is where? Again, 117, 300. We see so many things coming in around 117 to 118. I'm taking the higher of those two numbers. And again, I just think things are more likely to try up towards this region here. And we are seeing volatility increase here after it has reclaimed the median. So in this case, it is more likely to test what would be the other side, the old bing bong setup. And yeah, as long as volatility is increasing, we expect moves away from the medians. We expect the price to move away from the median. When volatility is decreasing, we expect price to move closer to the median. That is generally the way that I interpret the BBWP versus the HPDR. The BBWP is still it's actually crazy. The BBWP is a free indicator. I've tried so many different volatility indicators, seriously, so many different volatility indicators, definitely more than 10 of good ones. In the BBWP, despite it being relatively simple, and I don't say this in any derogatory way, but relatively simple compared to other ones, it seems to get things significantly better. Why? I don't fucking know. But I just care about results. And so that's how I'm looking at that one. Anyways, of course, we also got the 5-day 5 EMA strategy firing off over here, but there's no updates. Just Bitcoin continue to remain above that red 5 EMA for yesterday's closure. That same number now has risen up for the 5-day 5 EMA to 119. That implies Bitcoin needs to remain on a closing basis above 119 for the 5-day time frame to keep this setup alive. So we've gotten one closure. Now this would be the second closure. And if you recall back to the statistics, again, using the Quant Prime service to backtest these, we found that very importantly, the average amount of bars in losing trades is 2. The average amount of bars in winning trades is 10. And so if Bitcoin really starts to remain above 119 on a closing basis throughout this next 5-day period, which just began last night, so we got a long 5.5 days left to go now, then I would be saying that, assuming Bitcoin's still above 119, I would say that the probability of this particular setup being a winner is starting to increase, because again, the losing trades using this setup, they lose quickly within a couple bars, basically. So if Bitcoin doesn't lose by the next 5-day period being over, then, you know, again, the way that I look at it is just the upside becomes significantly more likely, and like a big upside movement, because the 5 days 5 EMA setup is the one that's designed for those big trendy moves. So you can see the backdrop is actually like very much what's it called, conducive to all of this. But of course, it's all hinges upon more or less the same areas. I'm cutting it to the middle at about 118, just, you know, to kind of say very quickly on video like this, but understand where all of those different ones kind of come in. Anyways, just going back here to the lower term timeframes, do want to see what the 4 hour is doing. 4 hour time frame is actually about to see momentum turn back onto the upside. Bitcoin can remain above 121,600 from the 4 hour stochastic momentum oscillator. Don't know how much it's going to matter for the short term, but again, I think that this one's range bound right now. Not going to see anything super crazy to the downside, not going to see anything super crazy to the upside. It's probably going to be a sideways day if I had to guess, even though Wednesday is, technically speaking, the most volatile and the most voluminous. It's the most voluptuous, very, very powerful big boobies for Wednesday, as it does have the highest volume by a pretty large margin, actually. Anyways, I am going to take another sippy sip of this water. Very nice indeed. Caretaker's on to Asian massage reviews. It's about to be over for you, my man. It's about to be well over for you. No one gets past the caretaker. I'll tell you that right now, man. Caretaker's nose for sniffing out bullshit is attuned in a way like I've never seen to anyone else in my life. It's actually insane. There's been instances in the past where Caretaker will like send me a DM and he's like, dude, there's something off about this guy. Like, you should really consider this. And then I'll be like, no, I think you're overreacting. Like, he's fine. You know, it's all good. And then lo and behold, you know, a little while later, this person will just be doing something like completely fucking off the wall. I'm like, all right, okay, yes, you were right. You were right. Anyways, let's go over to the super chats, see what we got going on. Unfortunately, Steven Schickman is not number one today. Not number one. Holy shit! What has happened here? Is the sky falling? But that's okay. He is number 2, which is also just as good. I had my own number 2s this morning. Anyways, looking at Litecoin for Pisa. He's looking at the weekly and the monthly, very high term timeframes. And as usual, Litecoin, absolute garbage. Sorry, I just can't help myself, man. Look. If Bitcoin, assuming Bitcoin just holds above 118, do I think Litecoin's going to fail this rally? No. But do I think it's going to be a big winner? Also, no. But hey, if you've been stuck in a position with Litecoin because, you just got stuck drinking the fucking laundry detergent, well... you can always stop. But hey, I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm here to give you my opinion on this chart for the time frames that you have requested for. Yeah, I actually do still think that this one's going to fall through to the upside. Again, the only way that I see this one breaking down is if Bitcoin comes back down below 118. If that happens, yes, shit like this, not just singling out Litecoin, but everything else is going to be absolutely fucking boo-caked to the downside. Until then, Bitcoin going sideways and up is going to at least hold these things sideways. And yeah, I do think that Litecoin is likely ready for its moves for this cycle to the upside, just like you've seen over here in 2020, just like you saw over here in 2017. It does have those upside moves. It's just they always fail over a long enough period of time. So I have no reason to believe that this one's going to be anything different. I just believe that it's probably going to go up from here. Probably going to go up decent amount if we're on the higher term timeframes. Again, I look at this as actually overall good for general upside price action. I do think it'll hit somewhere around $150 to $200 within the next 3 to 6 months, let's say, probably within 3 months, assuming that this market continues to the upside. But let's go over a very, very specific area, just like Bitcoin below 118, that would completely destroy the short-term setup for this thing, which would be more or less below that most recent price action pivot low. I think you could even move that up to last week's low, to be honest with you, at about 103. Yeah, sorry, 104. 104, the price action pivot is 141 cents. But I would even say last week's low is probably good enough in this case. Anywhere below there, I think at that point, you're very likely to see Bitcoin already below 118. So you already know what I'm going to say on top of that. But for right here, it just looks weak to me, man. I mean, it just looks weak, as these things typically do. As always, I like to look at the Bitcoin pairing. And I think that really reveals the long term. And this, I mean, look, man, it's like... you're better off holding fucking US dollars compared to this fucking thing, man. You are actually better off holding US dollars. You are actually better off holding US dollars, even though the US dollar is losing value each and every fucking moment, each and every passing second. I feel like it is I feel like I am obligated during every stream, during every video, to just start off the video with, if you're holding dollars, if you're holding fiat currencies, whether it's euros, whether it's Swiss francs, whether it's fucking Chinese yuans, whether it's the Australian peso, that's probably what it is. It's going down. It's going down. You are guaranteed a loss. You are guaranteed a loss. It might not be a humongous loss. It might be about 2% loss. Your PP is getting smaller. My PP is getting smaller by holding dollars as well. My PP, my purchasing power is going down, 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 down. Very flaccid, very bad. Almost castration levels. But you can restore your PP. The cure is Cialis. No, the cure, actually that also does work. The PP will grow from there. And if you stack that with assets, particularly hard assets, particularly things like gold, silver, Bitcoin, and major US stocks and indices, not the garbage shit, then yes, you can actually increase the size of your PP. And we love to increase the size of our PP. Even the women's of this channel, they love big PPs. Big PPs for all. We all love big PPs. I'm the biggest of them, and I'm gay as fuck for TA. Anyways, as we look at this chart, I just want to remind myself of that fact. PP bad. PP very bad for Litecoin. We should make a PP indicator, which just... actually, this is a great idea for any of the coders of this channel. Make the PP indicator. The PP indicator will tell us the purchasing power of this asset. Is it going up or is it going down in real dollar values? That's what we want to know. Inflation adjusted, PP adjusted. That's what we need to know. The PP adjustment levels. Anyways, moving on from there, we got Steven Schickman. Thank God he's looking at Dogecoin. Basically the same spiel that I'd say about Dogecoin is what I'd say about Litecoin, to be honest with you. And let's put this on the regular chart here as well. It's like, look, man, I'm not going to be bearish on this chart as long as the monthly is above that 5 EMA, which it will undoubtedly be right now. Just like Litecoin, if Bitcoin does not break down, I have a very difficult time seeing this thing break down, but there's a super, super obvious breakdown point now. Super obvious breakdown point. Anywhere below last week's low, especially on a daily closing basis, which is 22.5 cents, that's where I'd be very happy to call. I mean, I'm not like happy to say this, but that's where I'd feel very confident in saying, hey, this thing is actually going to be headed much further south, and it's going to fail this current rally, and probably more likely to come back down to the mid to upper teens, somewhere between 15 to 18 cents if I had to guess. But for right now, it does still remain above there, obviously, and that number again is about 22.5 cents, a little bit above there to be fair. Daily time frame, this one still has higher lows here, so I don't have major issues with this. Come down to 23 cents very easily, and that'd actually still be a decent area for a bit of a bounce and try to the upside. It's just, again, not strong in comparison to the things that well, I would prefer to focus on. But yeah, at the end of the day, would I call this one bearish as it is? No, not in its particular stance right now. We've been saying the same thing on Dogecoin for a long time now. Yes, my personal view is not very is not very high of this great asset. But hey, I'm not here to tell you what to do. Like I said, I'm here to give you an opinion on the chart itself. And my rule is, as long as you're above that red 5 EMA on the monthly, I do not I do not let go of a general, or I just don't have a downside bias. I mean, don't necessarily have to say that I have an upside bias on this thing, although it probably would head to the upside if Bitcoin breaks to new highs as well. It's just this thing is obviously not going to make new all-time highs. It'd head up into the mid 30s most likely. That would be a good area of interest for this thing. Anyways, moving on from there. Let's see. And let me just take a sip of this water. Here we go. John Dude is playing my new favorite game, Rip or Dip. Fuck yeah, man. BBAI. So BBAI is a sort of defense technology stock. I was actually looking at this one for myself. I actually, I decided to go against it. I instead invested in those same funds in KTOS, but this would have not been a terrible do as well. I was looking at it over here when it was a little bit below $3. So, I definitely don't hate it long term as like an investment stock. I also like just generally defense technology. It makes a lot of sense to me as an investment for the long term. As far as a trade here, a lot of these defense technology stocks are going pretty crazy right now. So I do want to be on the lookout for potential blow off tops on these things. For example, this thing, the long term is actually quite bullish as long as you're above last month's low. That's going to be the next major price action pivot here. As you can see, it's developing at 465, and you're trading at 746. So if we're playing the game of rip or dip here, particular to your time frames, I actually think that you're more likely to try some upside from here. I think that you're more likely to try back up around $9, maybe even $10, somewhere back around this high over here. This thing is consolidating in what would be considered a symmetrical triangle, again defined by the price action pivots indicator. So if you want to be a pattern bro, you can actually do that with this. And while it is not broken out just yet, it will initiate a breakout if it does close a higher term time frame above 785. Again, 785. You can do that. There is a technical target all the way up to just under $13. I would have some major areas of interest along the way, but if I had to call it, it would be rip from here, not dip. The only way I'd call it dip from here is if it came back down below the last day of September's low, the 30th of September's low, which is 640, which I think was the monthly pivot as well. No, sorry, that is not the monthly pivot. Holy shit, that is way far away. 640 would be the number there. So yeah, generally upside angled as long as you're above that number. All right, cool. Miss Muradova, what's up? Good morning, Chis. Can we please check Aptos? Okay, I need a good entry. All right, well, no time frames given, so I can definitely give you some specific advice. Definitely financial advice. I'm kidding. Okay, it's not financial advice. Not a financial advisor. I'll give you an opinion on the chart. What is the ticker for this great technology? Aptos, APT. Okay, there we go. All right, let's go to Binance for this thing. Yeah, I mean, the chart says it all right here. Is this an investable asset? Hell fucking no. Like, why do you want to focus on this? I'm genuinely curious why. Is it just because, well, at one day it traded above $10, and so it's going to go back there again? If so, I would say you might want to reconsider that. That investment thesis, yes, my very highly esteemed thesis. Yeah, if I'm looking at this thing, what's a good entry? The good entry is no entry because this thing is on a long-term trajectory towards zero. It's on a long-term trajectory towards zero. If you're trying to catch one of these one-off moves that you see that happen in late 2024 or late 2023, or even over here in early 2023, these are one-off moves. So these are very, very difficult to play. In my opinion, it is not worthwhile to do that because on these charts, they're more likely to go down than up. Every once in a while, yes, they will do something like this, but the guarantee is that long term it's going down. So you're playing against the overall trend. The probabilities are against you. Yes, these rallies will naturally happen, but guessing them is very difficult game to play. It's a very, very difficult game to play, and I really just want to highlight that. Now, if I'm looking at this chart right here, I think it's putting in another lower high exactly where it's at. If you're asking my opinion about a long-term buy area, I would not buy this thing for the long term because the long term is guaranteed to go fucking down. Why? Because honestly, Miss Muradova, and I say this with the utmost respect to you, but not to this godforsaken fucking piece of shit crypto project. They don't give a fuck about doing whatever the hell that they are telling you that they're going to do. They barely are even a company, okay? Most of these things are literal. They're not actually scams, but they are just fucking worthless. Now, consider the statistics. Like 90% of businesses fail within their first year of operation. Those are for real businesses that are trying to turn a real profit. This is not even that. It's just a random crypto project that people have strung together and they've gotten a shit ton of funding from. That's basically it. They put out very lovely white papers that make you think that they're trying to change the world and they have a great team and they're very, technologically advanced and they're going to really be trying hard. But all that amounts to is more or less a marketing effort. And ultimately, while yes, these moves do happen, I just think that you're playing a really fucking difficult game here. I personally would never play that game because it is not worth the potential, 3x or 2x play that you might get if the overall trend is to the downside. You're just guaranteed to lose. When you get one of these pumps, it might come from significantly lower. That's very possible. It also might come from exactly where it's at right now. But anyways, if I was trying to play that game, where would I be aiming my cannons towards? I don't know, probably, if this thing came back down to like 4.25, maybe that would be an okay area for me. The reason why I say that is because the only thing that you're running off of here, you're not running off of anything here, to be fair. All trends are down. All trends that matter are down. All trends that matter are down. Your last local low was all the way here at 390. So consider this. If you were to invest at any point above 390, you have to wait until 390 is taken out to the downside just to know that you're fucking wrong. But you already know you're going to be fucking wrong anyways because this thing just goes down. It just goes fucking down. It just goes fucking down. It's amazing. I don't understand the obsession with these things. Now, if you have Miss Miradova, if you have insider information that this thing is going to make an announcement, and they, know this person and that person, and they have all these things working off in the background, then you are doing what's called insider trading, which is illegal, but you could perhaps catch one of those big moves. By the same token, I just look like if the question is, I need a good entry, I don't think that there is a good entry. Like, why are you playing this game? At least find a newer shitcoin to invest your hard-earned money into, because at least those are going to have a better chance to actually put in some decent upside moves. This does not, compared to those. You are playing a game where the probabilities are just being weighted further and further against you. I do not understand the obsession with this shit. I really do not. Like, it's fool's gold. It's fool's fucking gold. Even if this thing does pump up from here and you absolutely hate me, you send me messages like, Crown, I want to fucking kill you, I want to tar and feather you, I want to light you on fire and burn you at the stake, I would say it's completely warranted and you're entitled to your own opinions. But for fuck's sake, like, I would never consider that on an asset like this. It's not even worth calling this thing an asset. It's not a fucking asset. It's a liability. The liability is that it goes down. It goes fucking down. Just like with holding the dollar, you're guaranteed to lose, at least 2% a year, probably more like 3 to 4% per year. You're guaranteed to lose with this thing the longer that you hold it as well. If you're looking for these one-off pumps, it's a hard game to play. Good fucking luck with that. I don't see any indication here that it's going to be getting one of those mega pumps from this exact moment. Would I be wrong on that? Can I be wrong on that? Absolutely. Would I be happy to be wrong on that? I really don't give a fuck, to be honest, as well. There are a few signals, I guess. You got some bullish divergence on these last couple lows, but I could easily just as argue that this one has more or less played out. If it does get another continuation move, I think best case scenario, like best case scenario to the upside is $7.50 to $8, something like that. Is that even worth a good entry? In my opinion, no. Anyways, John is here. He says, GM hate from Brookfield. Sir, Palantir, daily, weekly, por favor. Let's check it out. PLTR. Again, full disclosure, I do own this one. I also was hoping it was going to pull back more from here. We did call a top over here at about 175 when it was coming down, but I personally wanted to come down to about $100. In fact, instead, I just put in a higher low at 150. Not fucking bad, man. Stronger than what I considered. More importantly, I just wish I bought more. Anyways, you're on a daily and weekly. Let's go down to a daily. I do look at this one as a consolidation. Overall, I look at it as a very good consolidation, but I do think in the short term, you're going to see some downside. This one has been a tremendously massive winner. Especially throughout the greater portion of the last few years, like one of the biggest winners that I can think of, really. But over here, I do think that you're caught within a greater consolidation. You just kind of retested the top side of this consolidation range. I think you got your rising bottoms coming in from some like here. If this thing came all the way down to like 170, 160-ish region, somewhere in that pocket there, I think that would make a lot of sense. And I think that it will come down around there. But I also think that that's going to very likely be another higher low. So I'll just put it that way, man. Anyways, I am going to take another sip of this water. And some caffeine's coming up as well. And I just see that gold's above $4,000, so it looks like we got that one as well. Beautiful. I should probably own some. Don't own any gold, but I probably should. Anyways, yeah, on this chart right here, I actually do think this one will come down somewhere between 160 to 170-ish region. I also think that would be a great place for another higher low. I'm only bearish on this, or not even bearish, but just looking for a much deeper pullback if it takes out that August low. That's not very helpful, but I think at that point I would get my wish for $100 Palantir. But as it stands right now, there is a really obvious price action pivot to the upside. It is last week's high. It is 188.25, above 188.25. I would say, hey, any pullbacks that were possible are canceled right now. This thing is going to make new all-time highs, probably going up somewhere around 230 to 240. Fucking crazy. Yeah. And I do think that this one will make new highs at some point in this quarter. So maybe I'm being a little bit too greedy with the pullback there. Again, it's already gotten down to 170. So it did get down to the upper end of where I'd be looking for. If it does take another leg down, I'd be looking closer to 160, I guess. Anyways, super Google Lee says, I'd much rather Bitcoin retains its cycle so it remains profitable DCA at the bottom and shorting from the highs. I don't want it to become another boring traditional market like Forex or stock, although we can still profit. Fair enough. You're entitled to your views. I'm entitled to my views. I prefer steady growth over time and not like these major drawbacks for things that I actually want to hold long-term investments in. But look, it's your view is just as valid on mine on that. These are just preferences, man. Just preferences. And you know what I can also say about that is that if it does retain the current 4-year cycle, then well, we know how to trade it at that point, you know, from a macro perspective. So you know, that would be, I guess, at least a positive that I can think of. But just again, as you know, as a long-term holder, I prefer, you know, stability. Anyways, a conservative cat says ACHR stonk daily weekly. Thank you for specifying the ticker, the stonk, and the time frame. This is great, man. Archer Aviation. Okay, so retested the prior highs on that wick high here. Okay, so overall this is good, but in the short term I don't think that it's ready to break out or anything like that just yet. I mean, obviously if it was going to break out yesterday, really would have been its chance, to be honest. But overall I'd be bullish on this thing. I do think it is overall bullish. I just think that you're going to spend some more time consolidating this region. So I think it's a lot more obvious on the weekly here. You know, you see 1, 2, 3 rejections off the top side of this region. You know, maybe it pops back down to like $10, something like that. I think worst case scenario is maybe like 870, 890-ish region for a higher low, and then tries another upside move. Long term, you know, looking at the monthly, looking at the quarterly, I think both of these are still okay. I think it's just going to take a little more time consolidating at these highs. But I do want to really point out that the monthly has a beautiful, beautiful uptrend reversal here, starting from 2023. You got low, you got high, you got higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low as of September. And this one's already retesting those highs. Overall, it's bullish. Overall, I do think it will break above those highs. I just think that it consolidates these numbers a little bit more. Again, I'd be happy to be wrong about a consolidation. Overall, I do think it does have a bullish resolution, ma'am. Mr. Arjan is next. He says, good morning, ma'am. What's up? What's up, Mr. Arjan? Been watching you for 4 years now. Fucking yes. I love that, ma'am. Absolutely love that. Thanks for the consistency. That's what I am best at. I have obsessive personality disorder, I think. Anyways, you're looking at Berkshire. Sure, man. Daily, weekly. All right, let's check it out. BRK.B. Actually, don't really look at this one much myself, but I know a lot of people have great interest in it. Let's just check one thing really quickly here. Okay, boom. And you're on the higher term timeframes, the monthly and the, or sorry, you said daily and weekly, but I need to look at the higher term timeframes for this thing. To get an idea of where it's at. Again, long term, very good, very, very nice, very beautiful, very lovely, very amazing, very bullish as well. You know, if it does have a pullback, last quarterly open is a very obvious area. That's 486 region. It's also the 5 EMA on the quarterly as well. So that would be a bullish pullback to me. Below there, it does start to get a little bit more questionable, but short term, yeah, I'd very likely be looking for a pullback from here as well. Pullback, not super concerning. The only thing that'd be concerning to me if it actually dropped below August low. Below August low, I would say we have a real downside move occurring, you know, probably below $400, a little bit below $400 maybe. But for right now, you know, if this thing trades sideways in the same range between 507 on the upside versus even, you know, 450 on the downside, that's fine. I just don't think it's doing much right here, man. I just don't think it's doing much. So that's kind of my point. I'd be looking at this as more or less sideways with a long-term bullish bias, but more or less consolidating this range for a while, man. You know, and when I say a while, like this could take multiple months, I suppose. Something like this. Something like this in this range. Again, I do expect a bullish resolution on this one. The only way to get bearish is if it comes back down below that August low. That's where this thing becomes extremely questionable and initiates a much deeper retracement. But yeah, I'm not going to bet against this thing over the long term. That has not been the winning position here. All right, cool. Chris Vela says, UAMY, any idea how high this one could go? Infinity is always the maximum level, but as usual, when we speak, very low probability. Anyways, you're in a blue sky breakout. Your guess is as good as mine when it comes to blue sky breakouts. This is the twilight zone where anything can happen. I don't even see any formations here to really be judging Fibonacci extensions from or implied targets from. I don't think it's topped yet. I can say that. I think you will see a top before this quarter is over. If we're on a daily time frame, do I think it's topped here? Actually, no. Even though short term, you know, might pop back down to I mean, shit, this thing could come down to like $7.50 and it's still a higher low. Like that's the crazy thing about these moves. That's what makes it very, very difficult. But yeah, I don't think it's put in the highs yet, man. I'll put it that way. Yeah, we're starting to see extremes on BBWP, but I want to see it be extreme for, you know, multiple weeks in a row. Right now, we're like just getting into that region, so I don't think it's happening just yet. I think that this thing will at least get above $10. You know, usually things on moves like this will gun a little bit above those numbers, maybe like 11 or 12. At that point, I'd probably just have like a note in the back of my mind saying, hey, things probably most likely starting to get pretty overdone. But yeah, this is a parabolic move. This is a parabolic blow off top in the making. Absolutely. So when it does turn around, it's going to be really fucking swift, really fucking ugly. But for right now, yeah, I think you'll at least retest the prior all-time high here from 1980. Crazy. And that was, what, 10 and a half bucks. Yeah, and I think that you'll get above there as well. I just think that, you know, in the low teens, very likely this thing's going to take like a long siesta. And if you don't speak Spanish, then that means it's going to party or it's going to go to sleep. I don't know. Anyways. Fiesta, that's what I'm thinking of, yes. Anyways, the conservative cat says MicroStrategy daily, weekly. All right, so in September, we were looking at a pullback on this thing below $400, I believe it was, somewhere between 370 to 390. I believe we got that. Or sorry, no, 270 to 290, not 370 to 390. Okay, I had my numbers off by one integer in my memory, but yeah. We did get a bounce at 290. I remember I was looking for it to maybe come down a little bit lower to 270. I still think that that's possible here, to be honest with you. I actually do think that that's still possible here. In fact, we're kind of getting the bounce and pullback as I was suggesting from this low, from the LARP lines. Again, LARP lines are not intended to be perfect for the fucking lobotomized morons out there in the world. But I think that you probably do pop back down and retest this low, to be honest with you, at around 290 or so. But that is still objectively a higher low on your higher term time frame. So that's not like a bad thing, man. It's not a bad thing at all. Where I get more concerned, okay, it's not even like a humongous concern, but I just where I would effectively be looking for that 270 target to get hit is if you do take out last month's low, which is 292. If that happens, I think I will get my fulfilled target at about 270. But you have to wonder, like, what would Bitcoin be at that point if this thing were to come back down below last month's low? That would imply Bitcoin's probably close to last month's low, maybe even below there. At that point, I mean, I would have to say, I'd have to say Bitcoin probably back down, around what, 108, 109. So it's possible. But MicroStrategy should be more volatile and have outsized move compared to Bitcoin spot. So yeah, I honestly don't have a great idea of this one in the short term. I guess I'd be biased towards the downside. I could easily negate that and be very happy to be wrong. I'd be very happy to be wrong in this thing if it could just pop back up above Monday's high, this past Monday's high. And I just want to acknowledge here as well that while MicroStrategy is technically supposed to follow Bitcoin, keep in mind Bitcoin made new all-time highs this fucking week, and MicroStrategy is nowhere near all-time highs. It's nowhere near all-time highs. So yeah, I guess what I'm trying to say is trying to draw a correlation between Bitcoin price and MicroStrategy price might not be the easiest thing to do. So perhaps I would let go of what I just said for Bitcoin. But for this thing, I think that could easily come back down to this low, maybe even go slightly lower, but that's still a higher term time from higher low. Looking at the quarterly here, yeah, I just do not feel super strongly about this thing in the long term, to be honest. I'd feel a lot more strongly about Bitcoin. This thing, like, you're just not guaranteed to get new highs on this thing if Bitcoin makes new highs. That's my problem with MicroStrategy. It's harder play. It's a harder play and a harder chart. Anyways, looking at Uncle Bo, yeah, I feel like it wasn't that helpful in this one. So again, if I was just to mark off the most important area, it'd be, again, that 360 high above there. Okay, yeah, hey, fucking game on. But as long as you're below there, I do think there exists a possibility for a slightly deeper correction. Anyways, Uncle Bones says, okay, only my man, only one shitcoin at a time, my good man. But we will be happy to look at VET. We can look at the weekly and monthly. I know that this one has a very long-term history because it was around in 2017. People were talking about how this is going to be used by the Chinese government or some shit like that. And what do you know? Holy shit, the Chinese government is definitely using it. And by using it, I mean that they're abusing it. And by abusing it, I mean that they have sodomized all of the CEOs of this company. And well, and the chart is looking probably what like that Aptos chart is going to look like long term. Terrible. Absolutely fucking terrible, man. Absolutely fucking dog shit. Again, not you as a person, my man. Not you as a person. I love you as a person. As a chart, fucking hate it. Fucking hate it, man. Fucking hate it. Terrible, 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 terrible. This is a chart that is actually worse than holding US dollars. It's literally worse than it's hard to underperform US dollars, but it can be done. It can be done. All you need to do is hold this amazing technology. Yeah. The rest of the market rallies. Bitcoin at new all-time highs. What is this thing doing? What is this thing doing? How far away is it? Bitcoin making new all-time highs. This thing is down almost 92% from its all-time high. That's garbage, my good man. That is absolute garbage for an asset that you might want to invest in. Now, if you're short-term trading, which you're probably not because you're asking about the weekly and monthly, then I actually won't even just talk about that because it's not even relevant. But hey, what I could say to you, sir, is I could say maybe there is a slight glimmer of hopium for one of these pretty epic rallies, to be fair, that seem completely random, only if it can take out the last price action pivot high, which is 2.7 cents. I highly doubt that's going to happen anytime soon. But if that were to happen, I would say you do the possibility for one of these pretty epic moves does exist. But as always, they all fail, man. They all fail. So yeah, I just have to ask the question, man, in a very sincere way to the same person, in the same way that I asked to the person who was asking about Aptos, as I will ask you, it's like, why do you just like? I mean, if you genuinely like the project, hey, that's a different game. Fair enough. More power to you, I guess. I don't agree, but I don't have to fucking agree, man. You can do whatever the hell you want to do. I just think that this is just it's just a massive loser. It's again not you're a loser, but if you hold this, you're probably gonna be a loser. You're gonna lose value at least. Again, the longer you hold it, the more value you lose. That's the name. That's the name of the game. The longer you hold it, the more value you lose. So if you're a long-term investor, it does not work well. Gingerbreadman or Gingerbirdman says, "Good day, sir. I will never know the truth of your name, though. ASTS stock on the daily, please. Any likely targets for a possible pullback?" This is also a pretty interesting question as well. Rip or dip. It's kind of a derivation of this. I like this game as well. AST Mobile, really good. Really, really good. But again, we have another parabolic rally here. So I do think the highs are not in just yet. We're not even seeing extremes on a weekly volatility just yet. And I absolutely expect that we will see extremes on that. There is hidden bullish evidence on the weekly, but that's easy portion of that move is already played out. I'll tell you that. Yeah, I don't think that the highs are in just yet. I think it will make new highs later on in this quarter. As far as pullbacks, I think the most obvious one in the short term is just this gap right here from yesterday's close at $75.50. I think you'll get somewhere down around there and probably bounce. If that area does fail, though, be aware that this thing can drop significantly more to about $60. Like I said, I do think that this thing is not topped just yet. I do think that there are new highs to come, but this is a parabolic blow off top, and I don't think it's going to last too much longer, just generally. I don't think it'll go on past this here. In other words, maybe even less than that. We're seeing a lot of these things in this market right now, a lot of these things. We've seen a lot of charts going parabolic. And I just want to highlight again that alt season, I don't think alt season is alt season. I think it's stock season. I think it's stock AI technology type season. These are the stocks that are going absolutely insane. I'll show you one of my defense stocks. Like I called this one out a long time ago. I put it in my long-term investment video as well. This is KTOS. In the past year, not even a year, but since January, it went from $25.50 all the way up above $100. It's defense technology. And we've seen, many moves like this. This is a pretty exaggerated one, to be fair. And I actually do think that this one will go a little bit higher as well. But for fuck's sake, man, these moves are not uncommon in traditional markets. We're not seeing it in the crypto market. We are seeing it in the traditional markets. That is where the alt season is. All of the people who are holding these absolute dog shit fucking cryptos are missing the complete game right now. I've been saying this for a while, that if you want those gains, you're better off looking in traditional markets. I know it sounds counterintuitive. I know that has not been the trend in the past, but that has been the trend this cycle. That absolutely has been the trend this cycle. If you miss the memes, if you miss the AI cryptos, we don't see any of these things going up in this fashion. We see stocks doing this, though. We see stocks doing this. It's amazing. And there's a lot of gains to be had there. All right, lovely. Let's see. Deeps says, can you check Ethereum Classic? Oh, yes, another highly esteemed technology. Amazing. Let's look at this one. I don't know. Maybe it actually is great. I haven't really looked at it in a long time. Oh, what do you know? It's like you could just remove the name and put VET or Aptos there as well. It's all the same shit, man. Just total garbage, man. Again, not you as a person. Great person. Lovely person. I love Deeps. Don't love this chart, though. Very bad chart. Very, very bad chart. You're better off holding fucking US dollars than you are to hold this thing. This is dog shit. It's fucking dog shit. Everything else, even its brother Ethereum is making new highs. Or I think it made new highs, or at least it got close to the prior all-time high. This thing's nowhere near. Nowhere near. 175 is the prior high. It's 90% down from the prior all-time high. As an investment long-term, terrible. If you're trying to trade in the short term, I'd say, maybe think about liquidity, but hey, trades do exist. But even then, this thing's caught in a bit of a short-term consolidation range. Your highs of a few days ago at 20 and a quarter, and your lows of a couple weeks ago at 1770. As long as you're between those, I don't really see anything of super great interest going on here. If you could trade above 20 and a quarter and close a daily above there, I would say that this thing's gonna. It's not necessarily going to go parabolic, but it's going to have a nice upside move, maybe back to like 23, 24 bucks. But by the same token, man, the longer that you hold this thing, the more value you lose. That's just how these things work. This is bad. This is very bad. Very fucking bad. I think it's a lot more likely to head back down to $13 than it is to head back up to $40, for example. Like your next 50% move is more likely to be to the downside than it is to be the upside. That's what I'm saying, man. DPS says Crown Junior, ETA. Some may never know. We shall see in the future. So on a monthly, when are Elsa and Crown expanding the fan and planning to mint their first baby corn? Community needs a roadmap. Oh yes, we're gonna make Crown coin. Yeah, that's right. It's possible in the future, but right now we are happy as is. I'll put it that way. All right, we got CCAS next. Says PL Planet Labs about to stop and consolidate. Let's see. I don't know. Never looked at this thing in my life. I'm glad that you did specify the name because there's a lot of different ones with the same ticker. About to stop and consolidate. I mean, again, you have another parabolic move. Oh my God. All of these people are stuck in these absolute shitty crypto projects and missing these amazing moves in traditional markets and don't even fucking realize it is actually insane. You are forgoing real companies in real traditional markets for your dog shit coins that only go down. Oh my God, it's so painful. It's so painful, and I'm not even holding them. It's so painful to watch. Please save yourself. Don't do it. No, I can't tell you to don't do it. I'm not your fucking dad. Look, I'm not telling you what to do. I can only tell you that I pray for your soul, and I would not take those same actions myself. I'll put it that way. Is this thing ready to stop and consolidate? This is a really fucking exaggerated move. I don't think that the highs are in just yet overall. But in the short term, is it likely to pop back down and maybe consolidate around $14? I actually do think that that's likely here, yeah. I think it's more likely to do something like this and then continue than it is to continue from here. I think you're more likely to drop back a little bit. So yeah, I think that you're right, man. I think that you're right. This move is just so fucking exaggerated. You don't even get signals on momentum oscillators. Like, again, this has me a lot more concerned than anything else that we're seeing so many parabolic moves in traditional markets. There's so many parabolic moves in traditional markets. This thing has gone up from fucking $3 to $16 fucking dollars while your light derps have been sideways as fuck for the last 7 years. Amazing. Fucking amazing. Yeah. If I had to call it, probably. At the same time, I do not think that the highs are in. So whether you pop up to new highs from here, or you consolidate lower first and then move to new all-time highs, I don't think that the highs are in. I'll put it that way, man. I shall put it this way. All right, one moment. Trick Shot says Tesla weekly, quarterly, or Chainlink. Let's do Tesla. Only one at a time, sir. My voice and psyche only has so much bandwidth. We'll look at Tesla, though, because I think Tesla's just significantly more interesting. Although, in a way, they kind of do have a similar monthly chart if you were to just focus on like the last year. Anyways, Tesla, hilariously, significantly, massively better in every way, shape, or form than Chainlink, as this one is more or less at all-time highs. Anyways, if we're looking at the quarterly, again, I don't think that the highs are in for this thing. I do think it may take, like a month or two to kind of consolidate its current level, but this is looking to me like it's really ready and really mature for a breakout. We do have a quarterly uptrend. It is already at prior highs. I can't help but not think that there's going to be new all-time highs to follow from this. If we go down to a monthly, maybe it has a correction first to like 390. I don't even know if that's relevant to you. If you're a very high-term time frame, it would still be a higher low, to be fair. I would only be concerned about this thing, meaning that I'd only really be looking for a much more prolonged consolidation with, maybe targets back down below $300 if this thing came back down below 370 and closed a weekly below there. Until then, I generally think that you're consolidating this high level. Yeah, there might be another pullback, but I think you're a lot more likely to make new all-time highs this quarter than you are to see any significant pullback below $300. I'll put it that way. Yeah. Horgzigs says, Lockheed Martin, weekly and monthly. Sure, man. We got some defense technology. I guess it's not really defense technology. It's just defense is what this one's called. Why am I talking? It's just LMT. Jesus, I'm the redact here. Again, very, very good, though. I do think defense stocks in general are very strong. I hold a lot of defense stocks. Again, full disclosure. As far as this one goes, very fucking good. Again, another higher low in August. Do I think that this one's more likely to move up to 550 or to come back down to those lows? I think it's a lot more likely to move up to 550 here. You got hidden bullish divergence on the monthly. Quarterly time frame, again, another higher low as well. Shit, maybe this one might even head back up to 600 from here. Would it be that much of a surprise? I guess it is breaking out, or is it breaking out? No, it's at the top side of your weekly range. So if it is going to pull back in the short term, this is actually the exact perfect area for something like that to happen from. Even if it pulled back from here, you still got higher lows, especially as long as you're above like 460. So overall good. I would be biased towards the upside. I do think quarterly will follow through here at some point this quarter. I would only be looking for a prolonged consolidation sideways and out if it came back down below. What was the number? Was it 470 or 460? 460. Yeah. John says, I've hated this channel since May 2021. Fair enough, my man. Let's look at SOFI for you, though. Daily, weekly. Gotcha. SOFI, is this a Krypton or no? This is a real stonk, I think. I think it's a real stonk. Yeah, we've looked at this one before for you as well. I remember, sir. I remember. Here's a weekly time frame. Kind of following the LARP lines over here. Not perfectly, though. I had it retracing a little bit deeper, perhaps, but that is going to be wrong, obviously. Either which way, the bullish bias does resume. And this one, again, it's like, this is a tremendous move. Again, compare this with the crypto shitcoin that you may be holding right now. The shitcoins you want to be holding are in traditional markets. And you probably missed a good portion of the party already anyways, to be honest. But yeah. Anyways. Okay. So as far as the chart goes, do I think that the highs have been put in already? No, for this quarter. I think that it will make new all-time highs this quarter, yes. If we go down to a weekly time frame or a daily time frame, I do think you are in a bit of a short-term consolidation here. You did already play at the hidden bullish evidence on the daily time frame, and I do think that you are consolidating between more or less your highs of yesterday at about $29 to the upside versus the lows of last week at 25 to the downside. As long as you're between there, I look at this as setting in the next higher low. I would only be looking for a deeper retracement if you took out last Friday's low. And at that point, it's still bullish long term. It's just I would be looking for a pullback down, maybe another 10% to $22 or 21.5, something like that. Overall, though, very good. And again, if you're holding this thing, I commend you because you're winning the game. Like you're not being stuck in these crypto shit coins because because of like some sort of past event that has somehow conditioned you into thinking that it's going to do something somewhere in the future. No, this thing is actually doing something significant right now. That's exactly what the name of the game is. Mr. Amin Hafez says, what do you think about Plume? Probably not great, but let's look at it first before I denigrate it. Because sometimes, I get ahead of myself here and then it's like, oh shit, actually it was pretty good. And in this case, no. This case, do I think it's better than the other crypto shitcoins that we've seen today? No. I think it's neither better nor worse. It's just kind of par for the course. Overall, it's been in a bit of a downtrend here. I think it's just a generally bad sign that it's nowhere near its prior all-time high, despite Bitcoin making new all-time highs. I just don't look at that as a signal of strength long-term. you know, I could be looking for a decent upside move only if it did trade above Monday's high at 13.75. Above there, I do think you'd have a pretty sizable move to 18 cents. But again, it's just never going to be a big winner. The big winners are already around or making new all-time highs. Now, by the same token, there could be a mega bad signal here. It's not there yet. But it will happen if you do trade below last week's low at 9 cents. Below 9 cents, that would be confirmation to me that this thing is ready to plunge. First by retesting the lows from September at 7.5 cents. Probably another bounce there. Maybe even spend some time bouncing there. But long term, you know, just again, it's another one of these down only crypto charts if that happens. Until then, some hopium does exist. Like I said, above Monday's high. That would be, you know, conviction for like a pretty decent sizable upside move. But again, I just don't understand the obsession with these things when there are markets that are moving right now. Even if you are in the crypto market, you know, Bitcoin's moving. Making new all-time highs is no small feat. You know, that is important, and relative strength does absolutely matter. All right, we got CCAS next. He says, NVIDIA. You're talking about volatility on the floor, but divergence is building. All right, let's check it out. NVDA, loving the new stream time, by the way. Awesome, man. Yeah, I've really been enjoying it as well. It's good to get the Americans in the game as well. Been with you since 2019. Fucking yes, man. I love it. Very good for NVIDIA. It looks to me like the next daily high or low has already been put in, and that was on Monday at 183. That's where the new price action pivot is. It's also extending these trend lines here for a bit of a what's called a rising channel, which typically does get resolved to the downside. But I think that you're going to test the upside of this first before anything else, and that would, you know, tentatively give an area of interest, let's say like 194, 195, maybe something like that, man. If we're looking at the monthly specifically, similar to a lot of the other ones, you know, this is a very exaggerated chart. Absolutely, it's super fucking exaggerated. You are building bearish divergences here for, you know, many moons. But I don't think that the highs are in just yet. I do think you're actually at some point going to see above 200, let's say 205 to 210 region. That is where I'd probably be looking for on a next major high. But yeah, overall, you know, again, it's just another amazing chart here. It's like, what the fuck are the crypto shitcoins doing when this thing's been literally up, what, 2x, 2.5x for the biggest fucking high cap stock in all of US markets or amongst them. You know, from $90 to $190. That's amazing. That's insane. You know, your crypto shitcoin hasn't done that. It's gone up, or maybe it hasn't even gone up. Maybe it's gone up like 10%. You know, it's just pathetic. It's just, these things are pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. Anyways, base 42.67. Again, I want to repeat, I'm not calling people pathetic. I love the people. I hate these charts. It's not even the charts I hate. It's the fucking assets. Anyways, base 42.67 says, how do you eat ground beef? You put it in your mouth and then you shit it out. What seasoning do you what seasoning, and do you just eat burgers without bun? Sir, yeah, unnecessary carbs, man. Hell no. No, I don't have any of that bullshit. I eat the patties and I just put salt on them, man. That's it. Sorry for being weird. It's all good, man. I'm on keto and it's working so far. Yeah, if you're on keto, no buns, no carbs, no nothing like that. I am not keto myself anymore. I do have potatoes for carbs because if I'm doing like high intensity training, then it's kind of necessary, I feel like. But if I wasn't doing that, I probably would go full keto, and I felt great on it, honestly. But yeah, as far as, you know, what I would eat a lot of the time, ground beef is great. You know, get a pound of that, have it every few hours. It's amazing. Just salt though, just salt, man. Believe me, it might not sound great to you at first, but after a few weeks of doing that, it will start to taste like, it tastes like something that you're supposed to eat. That's how it felt like. It feels like I'm eating what I'm meant to be eating. That's really what it felt like. I definitely love that. I'm still probably closer to ketogenic than anything else. But yes, I do eat carbs. Anyways, Kyle McDonald says ZEC on the daily and 5-day. Sure, ma'am. ZEC. And going back to that conversation as well, man, I think just in general, eating foods that just have single ingredient, you know, potatoes, ground beef, you know, water, these things, salmon could be good, you know, just meat, fruit, berries. These things are all good choices in my opinion. Anyways, ZEC. So this is what I think a lot of the crypto shitcoins are hoping they're going to do. And it's very possible that they do something like this. But again, am I betting on this thing getting back above those 2021 highs? Fuck no, man. In fact, this area right here, the high that it hit probably recently at 175, 180-ish region, I think that's going to be a high for a long time, man. Yeah, you have extreme volatility going on here. You don't, or you actually do have a very slight amount of bearish divergence, but it's not going to be anything super nasty. I think that you're done going to the upside for now. I think that you're going to be consolidating this region, meaning that, I don't think that you go above 180 for a little bit. But does this one spike a little bit higher to the upside before it naturally comes down to its home? Yeah, actually, I actually do think it probably gets $200 or above $200, maybe like 220. It's possible for sure. But long term, as we know, this thing will fail every fucking rally chance that it gets. I don't know why Naval was showing this thing. I feel like he might have gotten hacked on Twitter, or maybe he just has a different opinion, which is also fine as well. But yeah, as far as this thing goes, I think that you will very likely hit a significant high right here. You're going to trade sideways. Probably does try for one new all-time, not new all-time high, but one new high, maybe towards like 210 to 220 after that. That's when I think this thing is very likely topping out for whatever move that it's getting. But yeah, and I would also be happy to call a top, on its current high, although this doesn't really look like a top to me, if it were to come back down below about $100. But it's nowhere near $100 right now. So that's why I do actually bias towards this one going sideways and then another upside try. So yeah. Chris Fellows asked about MicroStrategy daily weekly. We went over that one earlier, so I think we're good there. Just get into this one a little bit later. Will Carton says, can we look at IONQ as long-term investment? Is this a crypto or a stock? Okay, I'm guessing it's a stock. All right, let's check it out. Again, it's another parabolic fucking stock. Oh my God. Would I look at it as a long-term investment? Like, would I want to buy right now? No, but I do think that this price action is promising over the long term. It's just, I would look at this as a good indication that if I did want to get a position long term, I'd be looking for, investable areas to the downside. So for me in traditional markets, that means I want to, start to put money to work when this one comes down somewhere between like 15 to 20% from a major high. So this one's high right now is $83. If it came down to, let's say, 65-ish, I would actually look at that as okay for potentially a long-term position. If I'm going to hold this thing for like 10 years, I would probably expect to be underwater at some point as well, very much so. But that's where I'd kind of be starting on something like this. But yeah, I like price action like this, so I'd look at that as a long-term good signal that it can be a long-term investable asset. But if you're asking me if I want to invest in it right here, no, I do not. And even then, I mean, coming down to like 65. I would fully expect to be underwater if I did put money to work there. I think probably a better area would be $50 for potentially the next major low. But yeah, long term, this is promising price action. So I would look at that as a good sign that it can be investable long term. The Schwab says long-term stock guy here. Nice. PG on the weekly and monthly. Cool. Elsa is very skeptical of you, sir. She thinks that you are Klaus Schwab, and it's very funny because I was telling Elsa about like investment accounts, and I was like, well, you go to Vanguard or Fidelity or Charles Schwab, and she's like, Schwab? You mean Klaus? he's a bad guy. Elsa knows. She knows. She's not gonna eat the bugs. She hates bugs. She's not gonna fucking eat them. Europeans are going to be eating those bugs real fucking soon, man. Real fucking soon. Oh yes, that digital ID. You're going to go to the store. You're going to try to check out with your 400 grams of ground beef, and you're going to try to swipe your card, and it'll be like, sorry, you've had your allotted ground beef for this month. May you try some bugs? Have some bugs, sir. Yes, have some fucking bugs. Weekly, monthly on this thing. Let's see. I actually think that this thing's... fuck, I can't... Hold on. Does it have... Oh, man, it's so close. I do think that you're not going to see any like significant upside price action this quarter. I think best case scenario in this quarter, you see like maybe 157 to the upside. I think that this is a quarter of consolidation, and you're going to be trying to find the next higher low. I think it's more likely that you find a higher low, maybe with a wick down somewhere around like 140 to 145 region. You had some pretty significant bearish divergence on the quarterly time frame here. You've already come down to the 21 EMA, so that's usually like my easy target is what I like to say for that. But you've already hit that. I think that you will have a little bit more of a bounce here, probably reconnect with 157, but I don't think that's going to be the low. I do think it will sink a little bit lower first and then put in a major low. But long term, you know, this is a beautiful chart. Like this is very much a long-term investable asset. So if it came anywhere in this pocket here, I'd be very, very happy. I don't think it's going to get, you know, to the bottom end of that, but perhaps to the top end of it. And then maybe try again. Cause you know, if you're looking at the price action pivots indicator as well, I'd be looking at this as valid actually as a rising wedge here. And it's on the verge kind of breaking down. If it did break down, then somewhere actually closer to the bottom end of this circle would kind of be the area of interest, I suppose. Anyways, on the daily time frame, you know, it's in a bit of a downtrend in the short term, obviously. I guess you don't really care about that because you are more long term. But yeah, I guess there's a little bit of hoping that it is going to double bottom here, but I just don't see those hold very often, man. I really don't. And I would be very skeptical of a double bottom until it's back above the September swing high at 162. So yeah, I'd be biased towards maybe a slight stab lower, somewhere around here, man. But long-term good, long-term very good. Aaron says, Cryptoland Jesus, Tether dominance breaks above 475 or below 4%. Which one first? Let's check it out. Tether dominance at 430 right now, so it is kind of in the middle of those. Okay. I would be biased towards the downside here, but you are asking specifically about 4%. Do I think it'll go below? I actually think 4%. It'll test 4%. I'm actually not so convinced it'll go significantly below there. Maybe like 375, which is the exact lows that you've seen before. These are the price action pivots area. I would be biased towards that actually, especially with the way that the monthly RSI looks. Like this wants to come down. That's what it looks like to me. You know, and above, and to be fair, man, above 475, like if it got above 475, that would be back above September's high. To me, that would be an indication that this thing is going to be headed much higher. That's market cycle over type thing. And okay, maybe not market cycle over, but big fucking pullback. Because at that point, I'd be looking at least 5.5%, maybe 580, if that were to happen. So that's a very significant number. I'm more biased towards the downside here. One more moment. Okay. Dale Lane says Clash on the 4-hour. Can't wait for this one. All right. What are we doing here? It is a crypto con. It's a crypto con. It is a crypto con. At least it goes up. At least it's a new one, so it doesn't have all this pesky, nasty, long-term downside history. But I have major reservations with Clash coin that only trades on MEXC and WEX. Amazing. That's a good sign, right? Trades on the most highly esteemed exchanges that list the best products. I actually do think it's going to try a little bit of a bounce here, maybe back up towards like 6 or 6.5 cents. I actually do think it's going to try a bounce here, to be fair. I'll be wrong on that if you see it close below 5 cents on an hourly, and at that point, I think you're getting ready for a big push down, man. But until then, you know, I actually think there's a little bit of hope here, I suppose. But yeah, it's very, very difficult on shit that looks like this because just like how much do you trust this chart? It's like I don't trust it. I expect it to break down over a long enough period of time, but if I'm just going off of the TA, that's what I'd say, man. That's what I'd say. But again, below that number, that's where problems, I would assume, become realized. Hubris to God says TMC stock, does it continue to all-time high from here? All right, let's see. It's a very specific question. I'm guessing it's the metals company, and will it continue to all-time highs from here? Oh, back to this high? No, not without a sizable pullback first. I think you may continue to like 10 or 10 and a half bucks first, but I would be expecting a big pullback there. If you're expecting $15.50 without a pullback, I do not believe it's going to 2x from here without any sizable pullback, even on a weekly time frame. If we're on a daily time frame, I do think you will continue to, maybe not necessarily from here. Perhaps there's a short-term pullback. I don't know if that's relevant to you. You didn't give me a time frame, but that's not really going to show up well on a weekly. I think the weekly is still upside angled more or less. Yeah, I'd be expecting a big stopping point in like the $10 to $10.50 region. You've already gotten very close there, to be fair. So if I'm just answering your question like straight up, the answer, my opinion would be no. My stance would be no. You're going to see a pullback in consolidation, like a big one before that, like well before that, I'd imagine. Straight Path says, hey, Crown, what's up, man? CLSK daily weekly. I got you, sir. CLSK clean spark. It's back to the top side of the range. Nice. LARP lines are snaking their way sideways and up. Also nice. Good. I do think, okay, yes. Now I remember this one because we've looked at this one many times for you in the past couple of weeks. We're at the red line. That's kind of where I was saying the range high is. I think it might spike a little bit higher, like $20.50, but I generally look at this area as like a kind of stopping point for a little bit of time. I'm not bearish on it, okay? Not bearish, but I am looking at this as kind of like a stop, consolidate, and then maybe try to the upside from there. But this is overall, better. Yeah, and especially the monthly. Like generally on the monthly, I do think you will try higher. I do think that you will try towards $25, maybe even $30, perhaps this quarter. So yeah. Out and About says, troll! Wait, what? Is it a coin? Thank you to you and yours. I appreciate that, man. I'm not sure if this is it is a troll it's the troll token or trollzo, troll soul. Oh God. Well, I think this one's already entered into its selling period. I think it's already selling off here, man. I'd be surprised to see this thing get back above that most recent price action pivot at 18.5 cents. I think it's going to be something like this, man. Like down, maybe tries to bounce here to like 15 and then a down only move, my man. But hey, if it reclaimed this high, I'd be bullish on it. You know, that's the 2nd of October's high. I'd be very happy to be very bullish on it if that were to happen. Joey Burden says, shitcoins incoming, SPX. This is SPX 6900. Okay. All right. It's like, it's a new shitcoin. Yeah, this thing. Holding up relatively well compared to most shitcoins we've seen today. I mean, at least this thing, has put in a weekly higher low. And it even did make a new high, not with Bitcoin, but recently in July with Bitcoin it did. So it's definitely, a cut above the rest, that's for sure. You're looking at a 4-hour daily. So let's go down to a 4-hour daily. 4-hour time frame, hidden bullish divergence on that last low. But I do think this is range bound. You've already played out that move. Your lows are more or less here at 136, 137. Your highs are price action pivot here at 165. I think you're consolidating this range a little bit. But overall, I'd actually look at this as a good thing and likely to try higher. I would only say that this thing is going to come back down to, let's say, maybe 120 if you did lose this number here at 135 or 136 on a daily closing basis. Until then, I actually look at this thing as better than most, to be quite frank with you, man. And even if it did lose that level, well, we'll talk about that if that were to happen. But I actually think this thing's okay. Compared to, the vast majority of shitcoins that we've seen today, this thing is significantly better than nearly all of them, which, hey, I've changed my opinion around a shit ton on this because before I was not a big fan of this one back on over here, but it proved me wrong, and hey, that happens, I'm definitely wrong about that one. But in this case, yeah, I would give it the benefit of the doubt here, say it's consolidating at a high level and that's fine and that's good. Anyways, let's see. CCAS says daily, weekly, monthly on DN3 or 3350. Let's do 3350. This is Metaplanet. Okay, and daily, weekly, monthly. All right, daily, hidden bearish divergence on that last lower high. So I'd be looking for this one to come back down to like 519-ish. Wait, is that right? Sounds kind of big move. Okay, like 545 to maybe 520-ish region. If we go to weekly, this is a fucking parabolic blow off top. Holy shit. This is not good. This is really not good. Really not good. Look, there's probably going to be a pretty epic bounce at some point, but I think that this thing's topped for a very long time. 3 months of straight down on high volatility, on bearish divergence. This is bad. This is very bad. I do think there's going to be a big fucking bull trap at some point because there hasn't been any bounces on the way down just yet. Maybe it heads a little bit lower first and then it tries the bull trap bounce, and the bull trap bounce could, it could easily bring it back up to like 900 or 1,000. That's how crazy these things get. But it's very likely going to be a bull trap, man. I think that this one's top for a very long time. I mean, this quarterly has hidden bearish divergence between this point and this point. I mean, you saw the highest quarterly RSI on that high. and it's just a rejection. So I think you're a lot more likely to see below 400 than you are to see above like 1200, for example. Yeah, put it that way. Is the dump over? Only for short-term bounces, and even then, I don't think that you're gonna get. I don't think you're gonna get bull trap bounce from here just yet. I think it maybe goes a little bit lower first, and then bull trap bounce. But that's where these things get pretty difficult to play. So, I really don't know on that in that regard. One more moment. A lot of super chats today. Holy shit. Joey Burden says Pengu. I'm sure it's great, man. I'm sure it's really, really good. Actually, I think it actually was good last time we looked at it. Let's double check. Better than most shitcoins, to be fair. Definitely better than most shitcoins, that's for sure. 4 hour and daily, both are just consolidating here. The high side of your range is basically Monday Monday's high. The low side of your range is September 25th low at 2.5 cents or 2.6 cents, something like this. You're in the middle here. Price action pivot is right around 3 cents. So as long as you're above 3 cents, I actually do have an upwards bias on this one, maybe to test back up towards 3.5 cents, but nothing really doing on this thing as long as you're between these two green boundaries. Above 3.5 cents, I think that this thing will actually pop up pretty well towards above 4 cents, maybe even make new highs from there. If it does come back down below the September low, I would look at that as a really, really damning signal that this thing is going to generally fall apart with its first major target back down to like 2 cents, big move. Probably bounce there and then, fail below. But, this one, again, this is what I'm talking about. If you're going to play shitcoin roulette, you might as well do the new ones because, they are more likely to look like this and have real moves, which is what I think people are looking for on shitcoins anyways, right? So Chris Vela is saying Jobby short term. Is this crypto or is this a stonk? I'm guessing, okay, it must be a stonk. Short, medium term outlook. Okay, so to me that means like daily-ish. Consolidating here again, sold off on the prior high. That's okay. It's not bad. I just think it's going to come sideways and down from here. It's just not bad. I don't look at this thing as bad, especially as long as you're above this low from September the 4th at 1275. But yeah, I don't think you're busting out to new ultimate highs right here. I think this thing is going to come down. I think it's going to come down and look something like this, man. Something like this probably comes down to like, I don't know, 14-ish bucks, tries to bounce there and maybe it does one of these. I think that's possible. Yeah. Very, very short term. Does it try a bounce from here? Probably, could bounce up to like 18 bucks and then come back down and fulfill this move lower and then try another real upside move. But yeah, I'd be looking at something like that, man. PRG says TLT weekly bottomed. Let's see. Do you analyze this with chart with adjusted with dividend for something like this? If I'm holding for dividends, I'm always gonna look at the chart with dividends, of course, because that's the real chart. And those are my real returns. As far as TLT goes, I do want to acknowledge that bonds are not something that I specialize in, and they require like a real expert in bonds, and I'm not a real expert in bonds. My field of study is in traditional markets and cryptos, or mainly Bitcoin, I would say. This thing has a bond. I'll pull out the traditional classical TA stuff here, in which I'd say, yeah, it's around those prior all-time lows. You're very likely gonna, grind this area out. Maybe it retests those lows a few more times, but overall, within the next few months, I would expect it to bounce back up towards like $100. That's what I'd say, but I do not feel strongly about that because these things do trade differently. But if you didn't tell me this was a bond and you told me it was a stock, I'd say, yeah, this is a bouncy region here. It might take a while for the bounce to occur, but I do expect it to bounce above $100 at some point in like the next 6 months, something like that. Is it bottoming for forever? That I would not feel confident saying. I think you're going to be range bound on the lows at best for many years, man. Anthony J says, I know the answer probably, but MOG coin, it's going to be good, man. It's going to be really good, really good. MOG coin is the key to my riches. Wow, yeah, great, amazing. Yeah, so it's exactly as you might expect. I think you already know the answers. I think within your question, you had the answer, my man. Yeah, you already know what I'm saying about this, man. It's a down only chart. I feel like. No, I shouldn't say that just yet because it hasn't had like its it's super nasty downside move just yet. But look, do I think it's going to fail here and go lower? Yeah, I do. Do I think it's more likely to come back down to, your April lows than it is to bounce back up towards your July highs? Hell yeah. What I'm trying to say is I think it's going to look something like this. It comes down to these lows. Maybe it tries another bounce there. It could. But I think that making new highs above this high is going to be very unlikely going forwards. So it probably gets another bounce off these lows. I just don't think it's going to be doing much, to be honest. Freddie M says, bid F, daily, weekly. No problem, man. When $8 USD? Well, I can promise you an exact date and an exact time, but you need to give me all of the profits from the trade. You just retested the past swing high from February of 2024. I think it's going to take some time to work its way through this number. Do I think it'll get up to $8? No, the next area of interest I'd be having is about 5.5. 5 to 5.5. And I do think it actually will get there because this is a real reversal here. You got higher low and you're already at the prior high. I think it might take some time to push through that prior high, but I do think it will happen. But $8 is not my target. 5 to 5.5 or maybe even $6 would be what I'm looking for on this. So yeah, let's say just above $5, something like that. But that can take many moons to happen. Bryce Pinko says, NVIDIA stock. Sure, ma'am. NVDA. Okay, cool. On the weekly, monthly? Sure. Weekly, bullish. Well, we already looked at this one. Monthly, bullish. Again, maybe there's a short-term pullback to 175-ish at some point, but overall, I don't think that the highs are in here just yet. I think this thing is more likely to move above $200 than it is to move below like 160, for example. Seems like it's just been consolidating since last July and room to run with uptrend. Yeah, I would agree. I mean, it's either the strongest or among the strongest in traditional markets. When this thing stops making new all-time while the rest of the market continues to make new all-time, that's when you should be really concerned, though. Tom says STE weekly, month. Man, we're in like a full-on traditional market crew now. This is awesome, man. I fucking love it. I fucking love it, man. Really good consolidation here at the highs. I think this one might even be ready like quite soon to try for a real breakout. I see the price action pivot here at 252.79 is significant. Meaning that if you can trade above there and close, especially like a weekly or a monthly above there, I would call the next major breakout. You got a nice ascending triangle here defined by the price action pivots extensions. So closing above there, I mean, there's probably gonna be somewhere around $300 if that were to happen. Until then, though, there exists a possibility for another try to the downside for another higher low. If that happens, I'd be looking somewhere around, let's call it like 230 on the upper end to about 220 on the lower end, something like that. It'd still be overall bullish, still be overall fine, but ultimately, whether this one breaks out from here or whether it spends another like 6 months consolidating and then breaks out, I don't know, but generally, I think that this one will break out to the upside. The only way to get bearish on this thing is below $200, which is very far away right now. But hey, if that were to happen, I'd get very bearish on it. I'd be looking for like 150, 160. But yeah, man, quite far away. CCAS says Ricey, weekly, monthly, bought 7 and 11 for a long-term hold. Okay, let's check it out. Is this Rolls Royce? It is Rolls Royce, yes. Okay, so you bought at 7, you bought at 11. Okay, so you buying the parabolic move. Beautiful, fucking beautiful, man. BBWP volatility low up to 1 to 3 month to quarterly. I don't have the same thing here, but neither do I have it on the monthly. It's actually very, very high. Where it's hot as oh, you are saying it is hot as fuck. Yeah. Keep running up how to play. Okay, so in this case, you're retesting one of these major swing highs over here. I do think you're going to come into a bit of a pullback relatively soon. Overall, it's bullish, but here's the problem when you go parabolic like this. There's no higher lows all the way from October 2022 to where you're at right now. 3 years of just straight up. So it makes it really difficult because, yes, you're very likely going to get a pullback and a big pullback at some point, but because there's no higher lows along the way to kind of measure against, it's like it's hard to come up with like an area where I'd say, oh shit, this thing's actually failing. Right now, I just tentatively say like $10, just kind of eyeballing it, but that's not very helpful. If I had to call it, I do think you will pull back relatively soon here. And then, maybe it comes down to like $12.5, $13, and then you get a higher low, and then it grinds up higher. But I don't feel strongly about this. This is what makes these sort of charts like really difficult when it doesn't have like that nice sort of stair-stepping behavior, and it's just like these parabolic moves. So yeah, man, it's kind of a long way of saying I don't know. In your case, I do think it will ultimately go higher, but if I'm looking for a place for it to pull back, this place makes a lot of sense to me. It's a prior swing higher and a major rejection. Do we have a major fib here? We actually don't. Yeah, making it even more difficult. So it's not much to be going off of. Yeah, I feel like I just don't have a good read on this one. I do think you are a lot more likely to pull back than you are to make new all-time highs. At the same point, I'm not bearish on it. I'd just be looking for a higher low, and then probably, yeah, it does grind its way back up again. It's very difficult when you get charts like this to map out like areas of interest. So yeah, I'd say $10 is probably like a good area for just generally maintaining a bullish bias. That's kind of the way that I look at on this one. But this is also why I actually really don't like parabolic things like this, because it just makes it very difficult to play. So yeah, at least for me. Anyways, Chris Vela says RGTI, daily weekly, again, rotating some MicroStrategy profits. Fair enough. Some rotating profits on things that are no longer in their major upside moves. For things that are in their major upside moves, usually a good call. But I do think that this one is about to correct here. You got some bearish divergence building here. You got what appears to be a bit of a reversal dildo in the making. You know, it's still a long day left to go, but assuming it closes anywhere below $44, I would say, you will have a reversal dildo in place, and I'd be looking for next move down to like 36, 35 bucks, something like that. It's still a higher low over there, but you know, again, you have a parabolic blow off top here. It's like this might actually be the high. This is pretty fucking crazy chart, man. Maybe there's one more new high in this quarter, but I think that this one's very close. Like, again, we've seen so many parabolic blow off tops, guys, so many. So I really want to highlight this fact. One, if you're in crypto, pivot, and two, you already missed it, unfortunately. But that's why we've been calling these things out for a while now. I think the easy portion of these moves has played out for sure. Maybe there's one more new high, but you're catching the tail end of this right now. You're catching the tail end of that. So if you're going to rotate those profits, you kind of got to be on the trigger finger to sell relatively quickly as well, because I do think that a lot of these moves are going to be ending. So yeah. Anyways, another sippy sip. King Sock, switching it back to crypto. He's looking at SUI 4-hour daily for us degenerate redact. It's okay. I'm also a degenerate redact as well, sir. You're looking at a daily and a 4-hour. Daily time frame, another swing high right here. Probably be betting on this one to come back down to like 329, 328 region, maybe even all the way down to like 310, 312 region. 4-hour time frame. Jesus Christ, man, my phone is literally blowing up. It's actually insane. Anyways, 4-hour time frame. I could negate a correction lower if and only if it popped back up above about 365. I know that this is not that helpful, but I'm not getting any signals here that tell me that this is like a likely bottoming area as of right now. Maybe if it started to close a 4-hour dildo back above like 353, then I think maybe some hoping could play out, but I don't feel very strongly about that. I think you got to watch Bitcoin in this case. If Bitcoin pulls back, this thing's going to pull back more as well. And you got the same sort of setup here as you do on some of the other ones too. You know, if this one takes out last week's low, like 315, 310-ish region and close below there, especially on a daily, I think you're losing your formation here at that point. Still, the monthly is above all major moving averages. That number, though, is 330, so that's coming up real fucking fast. Obviously, it's a long month left to go, but what I would say is, it's like, if you want to be bullish, I honestly think you kind of need to see this thing really not even go below about 340, and you need to see it pop back up relatively soon, preferably no more than today or tomorrow, back above about 353. If that happens, I think that there is some hope for this thing to put in a higher low here. But until then, I mean, there are, like yesterday was it a bearish engulfing? It wasn't a bearish engulfing, but it looks nasty. Yeah. Yeah, you can close them. It's been a long stream. All right. Let's see. Hubris to God said, oh, we're already at the bottom of them though. Has Hood stock topped quarterly? Let's check it out. No, I don't think it's topped yet, but like most of the other stocks we've seen today, I think that these tops are really, really close, guys. I really do. I think it'll happen before the end of the year. I think this one could is more than likely to make maybe one more new all-time high, but you got major bearish divergences building up on a weekly time frame. Monthly isn't even going to be there because it's just straight shot up. If this one does have a short-term correction, it could have a very volatile move down to like 120 or 125. I would be looking for a bounce there though, and maybe one new high after that. But really, like I think you're really catching the tail end of these moves. Ultimately, if I had to call this one, I actually would be looking for this one to make a new high from here. And I would be really, really cautious. I really want to highlight. I think that you're trying to catch the very tail end of these moves right now. Whether this goes on for another month, another 2 months, another 3 months, I don't know. But I do think very likely before the end of this year, it is party over. This one's Jesus, man, it's really fucking deep there. Really fucking deep. Okay, great. All right, cool. Okay. Plume, we already did Plume, so all good there, Mr. KB. And Tom is looking at HNGE. Okay, Hinge Health. All right, it's a new one. Relatively new here, so not much of a weekly or a monthly to look at, to be honest. Yeah, I wouldn't make much of these right now. I'd look at the daily. I do think the daily is sitting in a higher low here and probably pushes back up to like 56, 57 region. But because there's such a limited amount of history, I feel obligated to say that I might be massively wrong on this one. It did fulfill this gap over here from August, and it has bounced decently from there. So that's why I am biased towards this one popping back up and solidifying this as a higher low. But I'll be naturally extremely wrong if it comes anywhere below last Thursday's low at 48.37. Below there, below 48.37. I would say no. This thing's actually breaking down, and you're better off looking back towards like 42. But for right now, I'd give it the benefit of the doubt and say, yeah, this looks like another higher low. I'd be betting on that. Looks okay. So yeah, guys, we are like very close to the end of the stream here, and I'm on an extremely busy day here. Usually I'd stick around and hang out at the bottom of the chats right now, but I literally just did HNG. Elsa. Yes. So we're all good there. Yeah, so I think we need to end things there, guys. I do apologize. Usually I'd stick around for a little bit longer, but today, this like next week for us, this next week and a half for us is super busy. There's a lot of things going on in the background, but I can assure you, after that, we're going to have a lot more free time, and I might even extend these streams out significantly more because I've just been having so much fucking fun on them. Like, the 2 hours flies by. It really flies by crazy fast, man. What's up, Creighton C? Good to see you, man. But yeah, we're going to be ending things on that note. We'll be back on again tomorrow with just another regular video analysis, and then Friday, of course, will be another live stream. Other than that, want to wish everyone the best as always. Take care. Much love. Hey, what's up, Bear Nutrition? Good to see you, man. And see you hopefully on